Hello and welcome to my video. Today I would like to show you how to make spice beef. Now this is a spice beef which is made to a very traditional Irish recipe and is eaten around Christmas time, especially on Christmas morning. The beef is probably originated from the 19th century, when at that time of course there were no refrigerators, but people wanted to preserve the meat, so they stored it, or they soaked it in a brine maturation process for about a week, followed by spicing for a further week. And on Christmas Eve they cooked the meat boiled it in Guinness brown sugar for a period of time, and then of course on Christmas morning they ate the spice beef together with a fried egg. And so the first stage of the process is to buy the meat. I buy my meat from my local butcher, and this is the piece of meat that I've bought for us today. I process for the family, so I make about 5 of these around Christmas time. This is a piece of topside, and as you can see it's nicely marbled and has fat on the top. I tend to go for this joint because I like the topside. Some people prefer silver side, which has more lean on it. So it really it's up to yourself what you prefer, you buy. So what we need to do with this meat now is we need to turn it into what we call in Ireland corned beef, which is similar to salted beef. And to do this we use a marinade. I use a wet marinade. You can also use a dry marinade. The one I use I happen to get from Ireland, but if you're going to use a wet marinade here or a dry marinade, depends on which you want to use, I suggest that you contact Surfeys. You can find their details in the description below this video. I have made up my own marinade, which from the Meatex which I have, which is the curing agent. But I need to get the curing agent into the meat. And to do this, I need to use a syringe. You can buy this syringe online. They're very cheap. You get about 7 or 8 of them for about £5, under £5. So what we're going to do now is we're going to fill the syringe with the marinade, and we're going to inject it into the meat. And as you're injecting it, pull it out slowly so that the juices are going from the center and right up to the top. Okay, I'll do one more. So we inject again, pulling the syringe up slowly to the top until it's empty. Now we need to ensure that we get the marination is throughout the meat. And to do this, we inject about 4 times on this side, and then turn the meat over and inject 4 times on this side, and then 3 times on either end. When we have that done, we're now ready to put the meat into a container and fill the container with the marination and cover it so that it covers the meat. This is the container that I generally use, and I've just got one piece of meat here at the moment, but you can imagine I would have 4 or 5 more and covered with the marination, and we then put that into the fridge for a week. During that period it will change color, and perhaps you'd like to bring the camera up on the color of the meat just to show that it is very red, and when we take it out and it's fully marinated, you'll see it's turned sort of a grey blue. Okay, so now I'll take this away and we'll put it in the fridge. Now a week has passed since we put that piece of beef into the fridge to marinade. So, and I've just taken it out, and here it is here. you can see that it's changed colour from the bright red to this nice pinky colour. So it's fully brimed. You can see it seems to be all over. It looks good. So the next thing we need to do now is to apply the spice to the meat. And when you take your meat out of the brine, just shake the excess moisture off. No need to pat it down with a kitchen towel or anything like that, because what you want is you want the spices to adhere to the meat. Okay, so I have spice here which I've taken out of its packet. The spice is a ground allspice piment, and actually it smells beautiful. And if you want to have it has ground cloves in it, and if you want to have more of a clovey taste, you can put an extra teaspoonful of ground spice, which you can buy in the supermarket. So let's now apply the spice to the meat. What we do now is we apply this by hand on the spoon. We just tip it onto the meat with the spoon and press it in. And when you have finished in one piece, you turn it over and we apply it on the other side until it adheres to it. And I'm going to spread it over all of this meat so that you see what it's like when we've applied all the spice on. Because when I put this spice on, we'll put this in the fridge again for another 7 days. But that's how the meat will look when you take it out to cook it. And you know, people then wonder, will the spices not come off when you start to cook? And yes, you do get spice does come off, but sufficient stays on the meat. So because it's all the time, as you pat it in, it gets into the meat. So when you've put it around on all of the sides of the meat, you can rub the end into the excess spice that's left on the plate. This is all spiced up. What we'll do is we'll put it in tin foil, and I'll put it back into the fridge for a week. It can be a week, 10 days. I find actually, and I've done it for 7 days, I've done it for 10 days. I find the longer you leave the meat, the more tender it is when you go to carve it. So I've left it for 10 days and 10 days. But because I'm lazy, I usually just put it in for 7 days marinating and 7 days with the spice on it. So now that we have it, the meat all covered in the spice and my hands nice and messy with the spice, what we're going to do is wrap it in tin foil, okay? Before we put it into the fridge. So there we are. So we'll wrap it now. And the reason I wrap it in tin foil actually before I put it into the fridge is because there's quite a strong smell of the allspice, and particularly the ground cloves. So I wrap it in the tin foil to reduce the odour that's going to go around the fridge and probably enter into other foods that you have stored in the fridge. And it seems to do the job very, very well. So there we are, ready to go in the fridge. I'll just go over now and put this into the fridge. Okay, so a week has now passed since we put this piece of meat into the fridge after applying the spice. And as you can see, the spice has adhered to it very well. The next stage now is to cook it. So what we do is we put it in a pot like so, or a pan like so, and we then put in a can of Guinness together with 2 tablespoons full of brown sugar. There we go. So they will go in on top of that, and then we then put in water so that the water comes over the top of the meat. Put it on the hob, bring to the boil, and as soon as it comes to the boil, just let it simmer, and I mean just simmer. In other words, little bubble just coming on the top. The weight of this meat is 1 kilo. So we let it boil for a half an hour per half kilo. So in the case of this piece of meat, we let it boil for 1 hour. After 1 hour, take it out and let it cool. And when it's cool, it's ready to serve. Now you usually cook this on Christmas Eve, so that it's ready for, you can do it on the morning of Christmas Eve if you want to have it for your meal on Christmas Eve, or if you want to have it the next day on Christmas morning, you can do it anytime on Christmas Eve. But the main thing is then you let it cool and you serve it up on Christmas morning with a fried egg. Now this piece of meat will serve comfortably 4 people with plenty of room for seconds, and maybe for sandwiches the next day. And so it's Christmas morning. Happy Christmas. And as you can see, it is Christmas morning by the change of pullover. I'm got Santa's red on. The meat has been cooked and is cold and is ready for carving and serving. So before I serve, what I propose to do is to slice the meat and just show you what it looks like when it's cooked. Okay, so here we go. So nice thin slices is the secret. Right, you can see the colour of that beef as I cut it there. See how red it is? The trick is to cut it nice and thin. It's much nicer to taste when it's cut very thinly with, and you eat it with the egg. And that's just cutting marvellously. Marvellously. Now, and there we are. And I think we're ready to serve. So what I need to do first of all is, but before I go any further, I need to fry the egg, and then I'd put it on the plate and we can sample it. Okay, I look forward to that. Looks absolutely delicious. So here we are, ready to go. I can hear the egg crackling in the background. We have the meat plated up, as you can see, mustard on the side, and the soda or brown bread here. All I've left, this is the way I like it, with soda bread and also the fried egg. So I think it's now time to put the fried egg on the plate, so just bear with me a moment. One fried egg. There we go. So this is the dish that I serve on Christmas morning to my family. There are 5 or 6 of us sit down for breakfast, and we all tuck into this. Everybody looks forward to eating it. I think when you do it and you taste it, you will agree that the long procedure in making the dish will be well worth it. And the taste is just unbelievable. It really, really is. And I know that when I was a kid in Ireland, up around when Christmas time came, I'd come into the kitchen, and when I'd get the smell of the spiced beef being cooked, I suddenly realised Christmas is here again. So I hope you feel that the long process in preparing the spiced beef was worthwhile, and that you enjoy this breakfast. And wish you all the best and a happy Christmas. And thank you very much.